I know we say this every week, but this is probably the most granular call that we've done so far. So what we did is we pulled apart the prospect journey and essentially the things that need to be in place for it to feel linear for the prospect, or congruent, as Michael puts it. And we even pulled out the iPad. There are some drawings, and we're mapping out in absolute detail what actually needs to happen for a prospect to feel as though they're on that train track that goes from ad to pre-call to call to delivery, just to make sure everything feels linear and congruent on the way through. And this is a perfect companion to last week. So I hope you enjoy it. The sales process, the whole prospect journey has to be linear. And what I mean by that, and this comes off a real conversation with a coach who was struggling to sell. He couldn't figure out why prospects weren't converting on the call. And we went through the usual process. What are the lead magnets? What does the marketing say? What do the ads say? All of that sort of stuff. What do they see pre-call? And then getting on the call, what do you say to them? And essentially what was happening is all of the marketing, the ads, everything was pain-based. We help people who are struggling with X, Y, and Z. Do you feel? Have you experienced? We know how it feels when. But then this kind of leads into the call last week. When he got on the call, he's like, no. I don't want to talk about what's going on right now. Screw that. Let's talk about where you want to go and how that's going to feel. So it's kind of like a spectrum, you could say. So on the far left, you have pain avoidant, and on the far right, you have abundance success minded. So if your marketing, your ads, everything are pain, when you greet the prospect on the call to make them feel heard and understood, it has to align with everything that they've experienced. If yours are become something and all abundance mindset, when the prospect hops on the call, you talk about, well, where are you trying to take this?
Yep.
So I want to talk about the linear nature of a prospect journey and how potentially jarring it could be if you take hard turns.
Yep. I think as a start, I think so. I mean, I'll definitely need you to expand on that, but I think as a start point, it can be jarring. It definitely is jarring if you're coming on for ambition, positive, want-based reasons, and you're met with somebody who hits you over the head with pain and negativity as a start point. We talked about that last week. But on the flip side, if you're coming in from a bad place, away from sale, pain, avoidance, you can meet them with positivity, but you have to make it real not long after that as well. For example, like I did a role play in the group yesterday on a one call close, away from sale, hyper pain, low emotional state, people with really hardcore digestive issues. It was one of the offers that one of the students has. We brought to life his offer. People that are having incredible discomfort, having to go to the toilet every hour, so there's embarrassment and restrictions, like they're in a bad place. But I didn't meet him with doom and gloom negativity at the start point. I met him with a version of, I'm paraphrasing here, I didn't say this verbatim, but you'll get the spirit of it. James, great to meet you. We're here to talk about getting you to a better place. I didn't say that verbatim, but there's positivity there. Now, before we talk about the better place, let's get a sense of where you're at and what's going on. Now we make it real. So you can do it that way, but you can't do it the other way.
Yep.
I can't meet the positive guy who wants to go to the moon and go doom and gloom as a start point. Not unless there's extraordinary circumstances that would indicate that's the right play.
So if we look at it incrementally on both sides, so if we are in the pain space, all of your ads, your call to actions, everything is pain, and you're having them resonate with certain areas. If that's what your marketing is, and that's what your warm-up sequence is, by nature, to make them feel heard and understood, you have to start the call with an equivalent of what's going on in your world that prompted you to reach out.
Sure. Because you can obviously you're going to attract people that resonate with that messaging. Marketing should repel the wrong people and attract the right people. So if everyone who turns up is not, identifying with the situations you are creating in the marketing, there's a disconnect. Could be a nice problem to have depending on what happens, but there's a disconnect. What you were hoping to get and attract didn't come. That's another story. That's a marketing story. But presuming that there isn't a disconnect, people are turning up who identify with the pain-based marketing because they're feeling that pain, or think they soon will if they don't change something, avoidance of future pain, then you want to meet them where they're at. Of course, you want to understand what's going on in their world right now and how you think we can help, all that sort of stuff.
And then moving past that, that's when
Yep.
you meet them where they are, and then you
Mm-hmm.
slowly build them up from there. But it all has
Sure.
to start from that point.
Sure. You've got to show them a glimpse of a better world. If you think back to where you and I used to sell fitness selling back in the day, we're about to roll out some old stories now. They were almost always pain based away from selling. It was what was politely called the deconditioned market, which is a very polite way of saying awfully fat and awfully out of shape. And they didn't feel good about life, and they shouldn't have either in the state most of them were in. And we weren't judgmental. We're sort of making jokes about it now, but we weren't judgmental. We were very honourable and respectable in our dealings. But we'd take them as deep as we could in pain at the start. What's going on? How's it showing up? What's life like? How do you feel about that? All that sort of stuff. And we'd bottom them out. But when we bottomed them out, which is where the tears would come, we would then offer them, so you're ready to change this, James? Are you ready for this to stop? You ready to create the next version of you where this doesn't happen anymore? Yes, I am, Michael. Then we start to build them up. And we start to show them what the next... And it was all truth. What we were showing was really if they did the work. Once they changed their diet, once they committed to exercise, once they maybe changed part of their mindset, once they surrounded...
We didn't show them. We didn't tell them what they were going to achieve. We asked them what it would look like in their eyes.
Well, that is true. That is true. But we also did some telling. That is true. We got them to paint the picture. But we also, would go, see Julie over there. 3 months ago, she joined and she said very similar things to you. And now look at her. So there'd be elements of that as well. There would be showing and telling and extracting. It'd be a combination of all those sorts of things. But the bottom line is we didn't kill the patient. We took them to where they were like not far off dying, but we didn't let them lose their pulse. Then we showed them a better world could exist and started to say, do you want this? Like, are you prepared to do the work for this to become reality? Do you want to do it with us? All that sort of stuff. Then we build them up. But yeah, we go down first, and then we bring them up. Obviously, you don't do that with a wants-based, desire-based, aspirational-based. My life is pretty good, but I want to make it even better. Based sale. That's a different customer journey.
Mm. So we'll transition to the abundant mindset in a second. So essentially, thus far, the way you start a call, where you meet the prospect to make them feel heard and understood, has to be aligned with their journey thus far. And then from there, meet them where they are, potentially bottom them out with consequences and all of that sort of stuff should the market be right. And then from there, that's when you build up, okay, what would success look like? This is where we could go. And then essentially, basic terms, how would that feel? Yeah. And the rest of the call is just positioning yourself as the solution. But then if we look at, I know we touched a bit on this last week. So if we're looking at that as a linear journey, the other side, the really abundant mindset, people that come in.
Well, I think if you were to graph it, I'm going to have to use my finger here because I don't have an iPad like you had the other week. But if it's the typical away from sale, it's basically a V. You start at the top, you start where you meet them, you take them down, and then you bring them up, and then you close them. Basically a V. Whereas with what you're about to talk about now, you start here and then go up, and then just do a little reality check and drop down a little bit to make sure it's real, and then you keep going up. So it's like a zigzag sort of upward trajectory. That's how I think about it. So there is an interruption in the upward trajectory because you've got to keep it real. You've got to make sure it's not a pipe dream. You've got to make sure that it matters, it's real, they're committed, they're serious, they're willing to do their part. They're all in. And that's the part where it might drop down a little bit. And then once you've done that, then it's in a solution state again. That's how I think about it. That's how I graph. I've never thought about how I graph a call, but now that we're going visual, and we should have your iPad
here. I can actually draw that out.
If you want to bring that to life, do you see it the same, or does your customer journey? It's actually a prospect journey because they're not a customer until they pay. Does your prospect journey look similar to that, or does it look different?
Quite similar.
Okay.
I will. I'll cut this out. I'll share the screen.
Yep.
Bear with me for 1 second. All right. So essentially, from what I understood, you kind of had
Mm-hmm.
a pain. Can you see that?
No, I can't see it. I can see a screen, but I can't see. Oh, now I can. Now it says pain. Yep.
Actually, I'll have to share via cable because the Wi-Fi is clearly not working very
Yep.
well.
Cut all this out. This whole section.
Yeah. Um, cool. All right. So, oh, it's still not doing it. This took a lot longer than it did last time. Why is it not doing it? 3. All right. So there we go. You can see that.
Mm-hmm.
So basically,
Yep.
what you're
Can see that.
saying with pain is meet them here, and then you take them down a little bit, the V, and then you
I
take them up.
can't see any graphs. Oh, now I can. Okay, there's a delay. Yeah. Yep. That's pretty much the case. Yep.
Mine's really, really similar. So start here, consequence them a little bit, and then build
Yep.
them up. And the way I visualize it is trying to build a gap on the call. So therefore,
Mm-hmm.
you have a gap
Mm-hmm.
between where they're going to be and where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
there's another gap between where they want to be and
Mm-hmm.
ultimately where they could end up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then for the abundance, the more successful people, the way I visualize it is, so
Mm-hmm.
if this is where they are right now, if you try and build pain, they're going to say, oh, well, I'm going to go and cry in one of my Lamborghinis, essentially, same as we covered last week.
Mm-hmm.
So my process is, without them even knowing, build them up, ask them questions about where they want to go, what they want to do, what success looks like,
Mm-hmm.
and what they can do once they're there. And then
Yep.
the way that I do that sale or build the gap is just contrast. So once they've told you about everything that they want to achieve, the rooms that they want to be in,
Yep.
and the conversations, the access, I say, okay, so how does this contrast with how things are right now?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, they're having to contrast their, what was 20 minutes ago, perfect, amazing life with this beautiful life that they just painted. And all of a sudden, that's how we get our gap between where they are and
Mm-hmm.
where they want to go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's how I visualize it.
Yep. Mine is if you draw a 45-degree angle, starting low and then going high from left to right. Yep, stop. Now do a straight line down for maybe a third of that. Stop. And then go up again, same 45-degree angle. Yeah. It's basically that.
Interesting. So start here and then
Yep.
finish there.
Yep. Talk about where they want to. So the first section is talking about where they want to go, who they want to become.
Yeah.
The vertical straight line going down is where we keep it real. Do a big reality check, like do a big stress test to make sure that they're serious, they're committed, it's real, it matters. That's important, it matters, and they're willing to do whatever it takes. And presuming we get through all of that, then we're back into, well, let's make it happen.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha. So this section here, again, we're getting very granular and kind of analytical here. So
Mm.
this section on the end, is that
Yep.
a short processes and you've done all the heavy lifting here? You almost do not a takeaway, but kind of a reality check there. And then when they realize here, yep, I'm ready to go. Great. This is how we're going to do it.
Pretty much, yeah. The final part is solution state, what it looks and feels like if they ask for help and come into our world, and getting their feedback on that in real time, and presuming it's all checking out the close.
Mm.
Yep. But we're closing on a high because it's exciting. We're going to create a better world. We're going to do something cool. We're going to step on the gas.
Mm. So
And we did a reality check in the middle.
What I might do is, given that we've got this up, I think there's a visual that we could do for what we've been talking about. So
Yep.
if you've got pain, and then you've got success / abundance, that's meant to be a B. So if you have that as a scale, so then if we go here, you've got your ads at the start. Actually, so if you've got your section, you've got your ads, and then you've got your warm-up sequence, and then you have your call, and then you have delivery. So if your marketing, we'll draw a couple of things. If your marketing starts, I'll section it out even more. I don't even know if people are going to like this, but we'll try. So if your ads start with pain, right? And your warm-up sequence start with pain. You can't all of a sudden get to a sales call and be like, no, we can only talk about this, because there's a massive angle there. And then your delivery, most of the time, if that's what your ads say, go back to pain. So essentially what you need to do for it to be right is just follow that. If your ads say pain, if your warm-up sequence says pain, your call, you just have to meet them where they are, knowing that the delivery will be that. That's how I actually visualize this.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so when you said the straight vertical line before, I didn't know what you meant by that exactly. So that's what you mean by it, I take it.
But with that as well,
to me, I just think of that as congruence. I just think of that as congruence between sales and marketing and fulfillment. There's congruence for the whole experience. Like, we're in the business of taking pain away or preventing pain. And from our marketing through to our sales call, through to our fulfillment, like, that's the theme. That's what our mission is here. Like, we know it sucks when you've got this digestive condition that I role played yesterday. It's uncomfortable, it's embarrassing, it's limiting, restricting, it's humiliating, and the outcomes from that are X, Y, Z. Our business is to make that go away for our clients or to prevent it in the first place. So everything about our marketing says that. The sales call experience covers that. The fulfillment delivers that. It's just congruence.
Yeah. It's amazing how many companies get it wrong.
Right. Is something, have you experienced this recently? Something to come to mind?
This a lot of times.
Yep.
A lot of times. And even
without naming any names, you want to give an example?
I can't give an example because it'll be too obvious. But essentially, yeah. So I've seen this a lot of times, but essentially a lot of company owners, they have an idea of what they do, of what they actually solve in the market.
Sure.
And because they haven't had someone outside come in, they're advertising, we help ABC 1, 2, 3. And then prospects are getting on the call. Wait, I thought it was this. No, it's this. And then if you look at delivery, it doesn't align with either the marketing or the sales process. And that's why people are refunding. So I think most people, and I covered this in one of the AI courses, most people need to actually understand what their deliverables are as a start point, what that fixes, how that shows up in the life of the prospects and how they feel about it. Yeah. And then on the back of that, in those layers, you have all of the points that are going to grab the prospect's attention in ads, in marketing, in sales scripts and everything like that. But most company founders are like, oh, we think we do this, so that's what we're going to advertise. And it just doesn't align.
Yeah, interesting. So you've obviously launched a bunch of AI courses really recently, and I've heard nothing but good things. When you're thinking of that in terms of the problems that you take away or prevent in the future, or the ambitions that you unlock, present or future, the people that you think will buy it, Are you coming at it from a problem negative state, or are you coming at it more from a ambition positive state? Like, where's your head at when you're thinking about that and then bringing it all together? Because you do it all. You do product development, you do sales, marketing, fulfillment, which is really just, giving access to the product. But how do you think about that, and how do you keep it in a straight line if you do?
It depends very much on the course. So for the finding offers course, that is 90% avoidant, 10%
Yep.
aspirational, because the
Yep.
majority of people will go to that after being churned and burned by terrible
Yep.
offers for quite a
Yep.
while. That's a very
So
easy one for people to
so they're
resonate.
looking to exit. They're looking to exit that painful state of churning and burning and time wasting and crappy offers and humiliation and all those sorts of things. They want that to stop. This becomes a problem-solving mechanism to stop that crappy reality and then unlock a new and better one.
Yeah. Whereas
Yep.
the AI courses, they are targeted at people that understand the amount
It
of
feels
impact.
more aspirational.
Yeah, that AI is changing everything really, really quickly. And this is
Yep.
targeted at those people that understand the only way to keep up is to understand how to interact with it and use it, and not just rely on other people's prompts. So these
Yep.
are very future-paced people of like, it will make a massive difference to me now, but I'm engaging with this because I know that the real benefits will be 2 to 5 years down the track when
Yep.
we're not dealing with chatbots, we're dealing with completely AI based companies and agents and everything like that. So most of the people are a lot more future focused, and it's very clear in the kind of conversations that you have afterwards.
Yep. Yep. Can you give an example of that? Like, what are you tapping into in those conversations that makes it clear? Like, what's the vibe?
So the finding offers one, people are
Mm.
messaging me like, oh, thank God, I've been struggling with this for
Relief.
18, 20
Relief.
months. Yeah. Whereas the AI courses, people are messaging me being like, there's so much in those courses, but I took what you taught me and I fixed this problem. And hey, have you thought about doing this? Or they're sending me their custom GPTs or projects based on what I showed them. And they're like, this
Yeah.
literally took me 20 hours a week. And now
Yeah.
it's done in 5 minutes per week. Have you thought
Yeah.
about doing this? Or you could do a
Yeah.
course on this, or you could add this. So it's a very, very different.
So the first example experienced relief and effectively thanked you for saving them.
Mhm.
And the second one, it sounds like expressed excitement, maybe there's a better word than that, and wanted to build things with you or for you, or themselves. Like, it unlocked a creative element to them. Very different journeys, very different emotions, very different energy to interact with.
Very, very different. And you catch people at different points of their journey. So I was even chatting with a guy this morning. So he went through them and the foundations and the sales call analysis course. Perfect.
Mm.
Fixed a lot of
Mm.
real world problems. But he actually said there's so much in these that
Yep.
I know I'll be using in the future when I step into bigger positions where I have to do more.
Yeah.
So there's that in the years to come, but also fix problems
Yep.
now. So it is very future paced.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's a good insight into the difference in feelings when you're selling an away from pain-based offer versus aspirational towards offer. Don't get me wrong, it's a good feeling when you save people, or help them save themselves, or somewhere in the middle. It's a good feeling. But you're not necessarily well, some people would be. Some people would be energized by that. You definitely feel warm and fuzzy, but feeling warm and fuzzy isn't the same as feeling energized and inspired. Whereas when you're selling to the second crowd, people that are making things happen, people that are inspired, creating things, going somewhere good, all that, it's very energizing. You often get inspired and energized by that. You often get new ideas from that. Maybe a JV partnership, comes from that. It's just a very different experience. I say to all my guys that I train, you'll probably cut your teeth in the first category, away from pain, and there's nothing wrong with that. I spent years in that category. But even when you move to the other category, you probably will never want to go back, because it's a very different experience. If I think of the Peter offer, which I sell on, which is 99% towards aspirational, let's make great things happen, I'm energized and inspired and educated on those calls, even when I don't make a sale. So, because I just get to speak to amazing people doing great things. Sometimes we're just not the right offer for them, or the timing's not right, or there's some other factor in play, and that's okay. I obviously explore it to see if I can move that, and it's real, but sometimes I can't, and it is real, and we part as friends. But I'm still inspired, and it was still a good use of my time. That wasn't necessarily how I felt when I sold to the other crowd. It was, I felt like I gave a little bit of myself every one of those calls, like a bit of my soul went every time because I had to give so much, because you're dealing with people that, are not in a good place and maybe don't have drive and get up and go and good self-esteem, and it gets pretty taxing. So that was my little
story about the two calls that I had back to back. That was the end of that entirely. Did I tell you about that?
Tell it again. I'm sure the viewers would like to hear it.
So this is when I was selling. It was an Airbnb something. Basically an investment strategy system. And it was very much a pain-based crowd. And then I had these two guys on that were dentists from New York, and one had 4 dentist practices by himself. The other was double digits, and together they had double-digit practices. And they said, I couldn't give a shit about how much I'm going to make off this. We need to mitigate our tax. Okay. Do you have any strategies? Is there anything in there? And then we were talking about, tax minimization and setting up different LLCs to have investment properties under. And we were going through all of these layers, and I hopped off that call, and I told them the price. I think it was 10 or 12K, maybe a bit less. And I told them the price, and they're like, yeah, sweet. Like, credit card came out there. It wasn't even a question.
Yep.
And then the next call, just back to back, finished that call. I was pumped. I made myself a coffee. I was like, yeah, all right, this is the kind of thing that I enjoy. The very next call, there was a guy hiding in the toilet cubicle at work, whispering because he didn't want to use his lunch break to take the call with me.
Oh, Jesus. The call that potentially changed his life.
I took that call, and it was so polarizing, so jarring. And I just thought, yeah, I'm out. No more.
Sure. I totally get it. Look, it's a luxury, but it's an earned luxury when you get to a stage where you can choose, what sort of offers you can be on and who you sell to and who you surround yourself with. It's an earned luxury, but once you get to a stage where you've earned the right to be able to do that, it's unlikely once you sample the right offer in the world that we're talking about that you'll ever want to go back to the first crowd. But you'll probably cut your teeth and come up in the first crowd. So as a salesperson, it serves a purpose. And you do, if it's a legitimate offer and you've sold it for legitimate reasons, you are often doing good in the world. You're helping people get to a better place. And that does feel warm and fuzzy.
That was actually going to be the topic that I was going to say today. The typical trajectory or career of a salesperson. I think we do that next week. Because there's a lot of talk about, people, how do I get to a certain level? People at the start, they're not sure how much work they need to put in, the kind of things that they're going to go through.
Okay.
I think we do that as a topic because it's a pretty clear, consistent path.
Sure. Let's do that next week. Let's do that. So I now understand your vertical linear line. So thank you for that. Our graph trajectory is a little different, but directionally it's the same. Details are a little different. We didn't really disagree on anything today. We went granular. You got your graphic board out. That's how granular we went. I thought it was a good call.
Yeah, as well. All right. Well, we already got our topic for next week, and I'll see you on that one.
Sure. See you then.